So, Parisi podcast, we're back. You will notice we have a different background today. We are on site in SOMA Fitness in Vermont, South Burlington, technically South Burlington. Right on the line, South Burlington, Vermont. We are with a dear friend of mine. I'm going to let Kevin introduce himself here shortly, but I told Bill Parisi when we started this podcast, I only wanted to talk with my friends, and this is an example of that. So Kevin Guile, welcome to the show.
Wow, thanks for having me.
And I got the last name right.
You did, yeah. That's how you can tell you truly are.
Still traumatized because I believe we did a podcast. Maybe it was my old Three Things podcast. I said Kevin Guild, and you said, well, it's Guile, and I was mortified that I just destroyed your name. So I now know it's Guile. Everyone, I'm sure, butchers it, but welcome to the show. First question of 5. I have the sheet right here, people. Yes, you can't see it. It's out below. Pod producer Josh, cut that out. Censor it. Do something. Who are you? What do you do? And how'd you get into it?
Wow. So I'm a Vermonter.
Native.
Yeah, native.
You defected, but you're back.
Correct. Just born down the road. What do I do? At my core, I'm a coach, a fitness coach. Been doing that for a few years now. I have a history of working in baseball.
That's the point today. That's probably why I'm so excited for the
podcast.
Yep.
But I don't operate some VTs, personal training studio. We were talking a little bit. I also do a little manual therapy, massage therapy, and I have a couple real estate stories from back in the day.
Nice. We'll do multiple. So you are on the list of people in Vermont who I can do episodes with or bully myself into episodes. So we will have multiple parts. Nice. But specifically today, I wanted to tap into your history of professional sports, specifically Major League Baseball, because I feel it's a very, if you told me, or I should say, if you asked personal trainers, right, getting certified, you're in school, kinesiology, ex-phys, whatever, what do you want to do? I think 8 out of 10 would say pro sports. The other 2 would say, I want to be a physical therapist at some point. I don't know. Maybe it's like 60, 70, 80% would say pro sports, but I think everyone, for the most part, wants to get into pro sports, high Division I sports, whatever it might be. You actually did it. You are the only professional strength coach that I know. Pretty sure. Okay. I don't think I know anyone else who worked in pro sports. I don't think so. So let's start there because you're a Vermonter. You ended up working in pro baseball. Talk to us how that happened. Why you thought about it, how you did it, all that stuff.
The how to get into professional sports?
Just start. How did you why? How? Because I think a lot of people are I'll work for pro sports. Kevin, you did. Why did you think pro sports? How did you get into it?
Yeah. I played baseball. To me, competitively through college. I was a small Division III pitcher, but I loved the game, playing the sport. Loved training for the sport almost more than playing, though. So my the way I got into strength and conditioning was through a strength coach, mentor who was also a baseball coach. So my introduction to competitive baseball was through the lens of strength and conditioning. So all the way through I did an exercise science degree. Some of the best, you talked about, 20% of folks wanting to do physical therapy school. Some of the best advice I got was right after college because I was in that 20% of I wanted to go do PT school and had a physical therapy director program tell me not to do it. They said, go be a strength coach for a few years, see if you like it, and then if you still want to be a PT, go do it. I still think that's some of the best advice I've got.
That's awesome.
Specifically within this industry. So I guess the journey there was through playing. And I think the knowledge that I gained through experiencing the game of baseball, I think did help me once I got into the baseball world.
Yeah.
But in terms of getting there, I've always wondered, because the first question I always got, especially as a Vermonter, within a world that has a lot of folks from the Southeast or Southwest, I always get that question, how'd you get in?
And I feel like an industry, correct me if I'm wrong, you kind of have to know someone to get in.
That's usually the question I would get.
Yeah.
So short answer, I didn't know anybody. I didn't, I wasn't referred in. I applied for a position that was local here, the Lake Monsters.
Okay.
So a friend of mine sent me that job posting and said, wouldn't it be cool, you being a baseball guy and strength coach, if you could get this job with the Lake Monsters? There was at the time, the Lake Monsters, the Oakland Athletics were their parent affiliate.
Yep.
So it was technically an Oakland Athletics posting. It was for the Lake Monsters strength coach position. So I applied to that position and went through a conventional interview process and got the job. Right? Just like any other job you could get.
Did it help you? You were local?
Well, here's the kicker. So like a few years late, because I always wanted the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a regular guy, strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
I try to keep up on strength and conditioning techniques. I'm passionate about the industry, but I'm like, what separated me? Because especially after a few years, I saw how many applicants for this role.
Yeah.
And so I remember asking my supervisor at the time, the guy who was part of the hiring staff, said, why did I stand out? And he actually had a pretty quick response where I'd done a volunteer role. It was termed a labor of love as the National Strength and Conditioning State Director for New Hampshire. It was a volunteer position. There were no other applicants. Nobody else wanted to do the position. And I was 23. It was like my first year out of college. And so I volunteered for the position and got to meet some of the strength coaches and it was a joint Maine, New Hampshire state plant together. So you have to go get presenters, and part of that process was I had the opportunity to present.
Okay.
I don't think I would have had an opportunity to present.
You're the director, so you had the staff. You got yourself into the line.
Exactly. It's like, I guess I'll say something here. And so I did a presentation on really the only thing I knew within strength and conditioning at the time, which was the role of a high school strength and conditioning coach, which was the role.
Yeah.
I was at public high school in New Hampshire, and so did that presentation, put it on my resume. And apparently that really stood out to the hiring manager because, I was originally hired for first, second, and third year players, and specifically first year players. So young, and in baseball, young is age 16 to 20.
High school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it really stood out.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. That's because I've always wondered, say like college, largely even a professional, right? Like if you are just in fitness, if you know someone, you can typically get a foot in the door. And the weight of the word goes a long way. Hey, this is a good guy. You should give this guy an interview. Like, I respect that guy. So if you're good with that guy, you're good with me. Makes my life easier as a hiring manager. Cool. An organic hire is pretty wild. So you work in Vermont. You're with the Lake Monsters, which I think was like not. Was it like high A? Like, what was the level that?
Yes, at the time it was a short season A.
Short season A.
Yeah, which was I think it was a 72 game schedule. It was generally, they ran from the middle of June until the middle of September. It was actually, that level was taken away after the 2020 contraction.
Gotcha.
Where
they condensed everything down. When you get the job with the Lake Monsters, were you thinking like someday I'm gonna be in the big league, like I'm gonna be somewhere? Like, what were your career thoughts at that time?
Yeah, I think I certainly aspired to that and work with higher level players. Higher level being like guys that are getting paid more.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, it is a different experience working with a first year player versus a tenured veteran.
Yep.
Kind of thing.
Yep.
So I certainly aspired to move up the proverbial strength coach ladder. I think partly it was supported culturally with Oakland. It was well versed of saying, hey, you're either moving up or you're moving out. Like, push yourself to get better as a strength coach. Own this level and this demographic and this population of player. So that you get a new opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like kind of drilled into me a little bit too to pursue that. Although I will say this, I loved the job. Being a homebody.
Yeah.
Being so close to friends and my family still around, and so after I did 2 years of Vermont, and really enjoyed it. And after the second year, they offered me a different position, and I actually asked if I could stay in Vermont. And I was told no.
Oh.
So where either you're moving up or if you're moving out, because you have, there's also an element of clearing space for, incoming options as well. So so the short answer is I certainly aspire to be at a higher level. There's some director roles there where you get to work more with strength coaches than players. I kind of always gravitated towards wanting those positions, more so than like working with older athletes. But yeah, there was definitely that aspiration. There was also a little bit of homebody.
So is it like a 1 year? Do you have to like reapply every year? Is it a 1 year deal, or once you're in, they're like, okay, you're in for this season and next season, or is it how do those contracts, jobs work out?
Yeah, they're pretty individual. Most are 1 year contracts. Some are 2 year contracts. I've through the grapevine, I've heard there's some longer than 2 year contracts, whether they get honored or not. I'm not sure. Yeah. But through my experience, the majority have been 1 or 2 year contracts.
Yeah, because I do want to talk about like or if we can kind of peel back the onion on some things that are really cool about pro sports, some things that are really scary about pro sports, as far as like, I mean, your experience, like with the job security, with like you're saying, like move up or move out, like, because I feel like with college sports, you're kind of tied to the administration or a certain coach. If you're in like Olympic sports or football or basketball, like if this coach gets fired, like this coach is coming in and the entire strength conditioning staff gets turned over. Like we've talked with Steve Leo about this with like the LSU like track and field coaches, like they've been around forever despite the turmoil with the football program. Whereas like in college, you can kind of have segmented parts of strength conditioning based off of the size of school, proficiency of different, if it's a hockey school, if it's a basketball school, if it's a football school, whatever. But I didn't know in pro sports and baseball, your experience, if it's like, okay, you're tied to the Lake Monster, but now there's consolidation because you stayed on through the consolidation.
Yeah.
And I remember like when you and I first met, like you moved out to like Arizona, you were traveling all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, so how did that work for you as you moved to different areas?
Yeah. I mean, people definitely lost their jobs.
Yeah.
In all of that because there were less positions.
Canada.
Yeah. I mean, there's an element of luck.
Yeah.
For sure. Where you were assigned the previous year, what you were assigned for. There was an element of luck. For sure. Yeah. But yeah, there's this from a job security standpoint, especially with 1 and 2 year contracts, it's this question mark at times. Yeah. But I guess, that's in terms of the cleaning house idea too. I think something that I think initially I didn't really recognize, and maybe towards the end of my time with Oakland, I started to realize was like their culture was very growth from within. It was very hire from within. Yeah. There wasn't a lot of like cleaning house. You and everybody you've ever known goes. That certainly happens at times. But I think I was lucky enough to be in a culture and organization that did really have that. Yeah, that thing.
Baseball's huge. There's this team, this affiliate, and I feel like it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like the major league level is the major league level. The minor league level is the minor league level. Yes, there's like administration between the two with players and moving up and shifting whatever as far as like talent, baseball development. Yeah. But for the people that work for these different organizations, I do feel like it's a little isolated. Yeah. Do you kind of feel like you were like during the season, you're kind of like, here's my crew, here's my trainers, here's my people?
Yeah, definitely. I think we had 11 strength coaches, top to bottom, from head major league guy down to, Dominican.
Sure. Yeah.
Camp strength coach. So we would all see each other for really at least a month, in spring training.
Yep.
And maybe once or twice outside of the season for like a continuing education opportunity.
Yep.
And outside of that, it was, you're at your affiliate, or you're in your town with your team and your roster. And you have to manage that and make decisions like maybe like more of an individual strength coach. I think what Oakland really did a good job of doing was sending leadership role coaches to affiliates to support. So I certainly had a lot of time where my direct superior would come into town and really honestly make my job a lot easier. Cool kind of thing. But it's really easy to feel like an island because you're out there for
it's a long season.
Yeah.
It's a long season.
Yeah. Definitely.
I'm curious because so you're with Stockton Ports. Did I say that right?
It's been a season with Stockton.
Okay. Yeah. So going away from Vermont, and you hear, like in Vermont, like host families with the players. Like, how did that work for you? Were you responsible for like your own housing, or what did the team kind of put you guys like up in certain places? Like, how did that work as a guy not to move away from home?
Yeah,
where you didn't have the luxury of knowing the place.
Yeah, that got put into a spotlight. I know again through that contractor as well. In terms of living, quality of living, especially for the players.
Well, I just think of the employee. Like, I mean, the players are the players; they have their contracts. But you're like an actual employee. You're not an independent contractor athlete for the team.
Mm-hmm.
You're an actual employee.
Yeah, I mean, from a living experience standpoint, it was pretty similar. Where would be provided a living stipend, and more often than not, one would go and find their own living situation, again through like either word of mouth or host families and that kind of thing.
Could you be at a host family?
There were plenty of, I never was, there were plenty of experiences.
It just seems wild to me where staff would go to a host family.
Honestly, yeah, and quite honestly, like those were the best case scenarios, honestly, because host families were so welcoming and supportive of staff.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I'd heard a ton of great stories about staff members wanting to go back to a city strictly because of host family. Like, I can't wait to go live with that host family again for another.
Just think of like living with like a grandma and grandpa. It's like you have like a adopted grandparents that are like excited when you come home. They're like, tell us about your day. They're just like wiped out. You're like, man, I just spent 9 hours on a baseball field. I'm sunburned. I was cursed out in Spanish. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And then like they kept like cookies for you or something.
There's some of that. I mean, there's also because the alternative to that is whether you hotel or long-term stay.
Yeah.
And those can be again fairly isolating as well.
Yeah.
Finding relationships, and especially long-term relationships or supportive relationships, is kind of the name of the game when you're traveling.
Yeah, it's wild. It just seems like it's never brought up, right? You see clips of like this athlete at the pro level or high level college, and they're working with the strength coach. And it looks like it's glorified. I do feel like professional sports strength conditions, like the person on the warm up, or like on the court warming them up, and you're like, yeah, that's just what you see. But the stuff behind the scenes, it never gets talked about. So it's kind of interesting, especially in baseball, right? Because you could argue there's the most pro jobs in baseball at the different levels. And you said each team like have 11 strength conditioning coaches. Like, you go to a NBA team, there's 2, and they're probably the PT and the strength coach. Like, it's a combined position in a way.
Yeah.
So kind of pivoting here with the actual performance. So you're the strength coach. You're responsible for how many athletes?
I mean, we had, I think there was, you can give this will be.
It's been a few years.
Yeah, it's been a few years. Over 150 players throughout the organization. Generally, so rosters, especially at the minor league level, rosters are a little bit bigger.
Okay.
So we carry 30. Somewhere between 25 and 35, depending on like injuries too.
And you're the only strength coach.
At that, yeah. So
you got 25 to 30 athletes.
And you have one athletic trainer generally and one strength conditioning coach. Generally at the AAA level, you have 2 athletic trainers, which can be really helpful to have in pair of hands.
Because the 18 works with you. You guys work kind of in tandem.
Whether you like them or not, you become best friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. I was lucky to be with some really fun and awesome people for athletic training.
You're pretty easy to get along with. So I think it's
it's two-way.
There's two-way. Definitely a two-way street.
Yeah.
Definitely a two-way street.
Those are probably like those can be some horror stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it really comes down to one person.
Yeah, and a bad cold, right?
Yeah.
That's a nightmare. So what does it look like? You have these first-year players. What is the actual, and you don't have to go too deep on like X's and O's, but what was your approach to athletic development at that level where you have someone who's paid to play their sport, but they might not even know the difference between a barbell, dumbbell, or kettlebell if they're a first-year player drafted out of high school, but they're phenomenal, talented enough to play at the professional level. Like, what was your approach to athletic performance and athletic development, especially as it relates to the level, I guess? Like, these guys maybe will fizzle out. Some of these guys will go on to the higher levels. Like, what was your mindset when you started the season?
Yeah. It's kind of like that that balance of long-term athletic development and immediate sport demands.
Yeah.
And that shifts as the levels go up, right? So, your first and second year levels, especially like a short season level in 2018 era, pre-contraction, or, in this day and age, more A-ball. Long-term athletic development is priority number one, because the value to the organization for that player isn't right now. It's down the road.
Yeah.
And so making programming and exercise prescription decisions usually reflected that.
Okay.
It was also maybe a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but a little bit more straightforward. Say a player gets hurt, you could have some more finite timelines that you could work off. Okay, this player is showing signs of fatigue. We're going to give them an extra couple days of rest, because long-term athletic development is the goal.
Okay.
Right. That conversation doesn't happen as frequently as the levels go up. So long-term athletic development at maybe the AAA or major league level, way less important than immediate sport demands. What's happening tonight? What's this player doing tomorrow?
Yeah.
And the programming can definitely reflect that.
Would you guys in the strength conditioning meetings or kind of hierarchy, would you guys talk about that? Like, did you have an organizational philosophy, or was it just kind of like, all right, Kevin, go have fun with the ports. Like, we'll see you in 6 months.
There's definitely a lot of philosophy, culture, definitely culturally and within our strength conditioning department. I think what I was lucky to be a part of within that department was the focus there was equipping strength coaches with skills.
Oh, cool.
So to be able to make in the moment decisions, assess and correct, be able to work with and around injuries. So providing the tools, maybe in the early parts of the season, all the strength coaches are together, and then throughout the seasons, like supporting further development of those tools. Certainly helped more than like an overarching, this is what we do when. It was more of like, this is how you collect information so that you can make a decision when this happens. That's, it was.
Maybe I'm too cynical. Maybe I'm just so cynical with like employers and fitness, and I just come from like the commercial personal training realm where it's total cluster. That to empower, you have to, right? If you have that many athletes, that many organizations, like you have to have some type of structure. And it's, I don't know, I guess sometimes I'm just really cynical. I'm like, they're just like, see it, Captain, we'll just hope it goes well, or because it is the lower levels, they don't get the love that AAA or the future of our program is in these levels. Whereas like, we might get like 2 guys that pan out down here, but it's cool that it seems like it's respected amongst the whole hierarchy.
Yeah. Well, you're also right though. Cause inherently that does happen where sooner or later you're going to end up, you're going to be in a city that you're unfamiliar with players that you just met.
Yep.
And you're going to be trying to make decisions and communicate those decisions to skill coaches and, baseball coaches, hopefully clearly and concisely. So there needs to be a level of skill set and a deep toolbox to be able to do that. Cause that does happen. You're right. Like that is the reality.
Yeah.
And then preparing for the reality.
I don't know. That's why I was like, this will be an interesting topic to talk with Kevin about, because Kevin's been in pro sports. So you go through pro sports.
Yeah.
We're in SOMA right now. What was the decision for you to move away from pros? Because I feel like there's got to be a fork in the road. Like, do I keep doing this, or do I go to these other avenues? I know I met you in the other avenues, but how did you kind of navigate that fork in the road when the time came?
Yeah. I think I first became aware of you at Parisi.
We met in Arizona.
Yeah,
we were just casually, like, at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I'm the guy from New Hampshire. And I was like, oh, I'm the guy from Vermont, the Northeast fellas. You're like, yeah, I'm used to. Yeah, I think you may have still been doing some stuff with.
I was there I was there to learn from you. I was there to.
But you were working at a Parisi, but also still with baseball. Like, I think.
No, that was all pre-baseball.
It was all pre-baseball.
Pre-baseball.
No kidding.
Yeah, I was going through.
I had my timeline wrong.
Yeah.
So this was high school strength coach Kevin.
This was high school strength coach Kevin. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Why do you think? Man, I had my timeline all wrong. You were a killer block.
Super. You are. Truly. Yeah. Truly. Oh, please. I remember being out there. Honestly, the curriculum with Parisi really helped.
I mean, it's legit. Like,
background, super helpful.
Yeah. As a non-athlete, right? Like, I'm like, oh, this makes it pretty. I mean, we're biased people. Like, obviously,
I guess that's kind of a shit.
But yeah, it's the Parisi podcast. People don't know what they're getting into. Okay, so so now I got my timeline adjusted. So when you hit that fork in the road, was it like the professional athletes where it's like, I have to retire because no one wants me, or was it time to hang the spikes up?
I mean, the fork in the road, pretty clearly, I got married within a year, and had a long-term relationship at that time. And we've been long distance for almost my entire career in baseball.
Yeah.
So the fork in the road was getting married, and we have a kid on the way here in Denver.
Yep. That's
still have family. It's hard. It's simply hard to have a relationship and have a family in that world. It's possible and can be done, but in terms of like the fork in the road, the opportunity to own and operate a personal training studio came up into my field of vision.
Yep.
And provide an opportunity to be home with not only Jess but also my family.
Yep.
So it was a pretty clear fork. I'll never forget the phone call. Where it was basically quitting my role, or saying that I was not gonna be back for the ensuing year, and that was a really hard conversation for me because I love the work and I love.
Yeah, I used to think you were nuts for because I think you owned SOMA and still worked baseball. So yeah. I'm like, man, this guy owns a business and he's gonna go off and do baseball like that. To me, I was like, this guy is crazy.
Yeah, it would have been.
But you did though.
For a brief time.
For a hot minute.
For a brief time.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I think, everybody I worked with directly with the A's would probably confirm this. Like, it definitely affected my work with the A's. And
law invested in.
Yeah, and definitely affected, the growth in even just the first few months, here. So it was just hard to balance that.
We'll pull another episode.
Definitely.
We should do an episode on why you should buy an existing gym instead of starting one from scratch.
Oh,
I guess you're. Yeah, I would love to talk about that. We'll definitely be back for round 2 or 3. Because I wanted to talk as we transition to like the idea of moving away from baseball to being a business owner. What did you, if anything, bring from your experience? Because it's funny listening to you talk about baseball and how you've run SOMA, just spending a half hour here talking to people before you got here. No big deal. I was like, Kevin's not late, guys. Relax. Just relax. I'm here early. What have you brought from pro sports into the, I'll say like professional commercial, personal training side? Because similar, different, but I mean, just how you talk about the hierarchy and the supportiveness of the A's. I mean, I feel like that's just from the outside looking in, like I could see that with your staff, like totally, like you have, like they all like each other. Like that's the first thing that stood out to me. I walk in, everyone seemed like they liked each other. I've been in enough personal training studios and commercial gyms where you get vibes the other. You have too. You get vibes the other way.
Yeah.
And there's like that person in the corner, and someone greets you at the door, but they're just like pissed that someone's here. They don't know who you are, and you're not supposed to be here. Like everyone was like, "Oh yeah, no, you're here with Kevin." Like everyone knew who I was when I walked in. Like that's that reflection of the leader for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Going back to the question, what skills have you brought from your time with the A's?
Yeah. I was just talking with a friend of mine who's still working in baseball, and we were actually kind of talking about this topic, at least in terms of like what skill development working within professional baseball really transfers to just being in the private sector.
Yeah.
And working primarily general population, different population of people that you're working with, like what actually transfers. And I think for me, the leadership component of equipping staff with skills, I think that really stuck with me, and that's something I take pretty seriously here.
Yeah.
As opposed to this is how you're going to do this. Trying to create a space where folks can come up with their own ideas based off their own skill sets. Because that's what was given to me with Oakland. And also just the power of shared experiences. I think the relationships that come from a challenging travel environment in baseball, personal training sector, the private fitness sector can be pretty challenging too, especially early for people in their first few years.
So I did an episode on navigating the first 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
because that's make or break.
Right. So I think the the feeling or the concept of living something together.
Sure.
It's a main reason I still enjoy coaching on the training floor. It's a main reason, I spend so much time with staff on the training floor, is because I think there's a lot of power to that experience, because it can be super challenging. It can be really taxing physically and socially.
Yeah.
Just interacting with people all day long, and to have folks that you can lean on in that environment. I think I learned that with Oakland, and hopefully brought it here, and your folks here really bought into that too.
Yeah. I mean, we this episode could be 3 hours long. We should go Joe Rogan style and do it 3 hour long. Someday I'll do that.
We don't need more
I have 3 hours. I will do it, because that covered. I mean, there's so many things. My mind is like 1,000 wheels right now. But yeah, it's very apparent that having heard your stories, been around you for a little bit, seeing just how people maneuver here, it's pretty cool. And I'd say you definitely have done that for sure.
Wow.
I mean, it's pretty. We
still got a ways to go.
Yeah, no, but like I said, I've been through probably 50 gyms in my 16 years of career fitness, and you can tell, right? You work with people. We work with people, right? You can tell. And a client walks in, they're in a bad mood. An athlete walks in, they had a bad night. You can tell.
Yeah.
Right. So you walk in, and if you see staff, you can tell who is enjoying their time in a certain place, who's not, who's having a good day, who's having a bad day. In an industry where we're largely only allowed good days and great days. So that's really it, right? Kevin comes into the door, he's only allowed a good day or a great day. We don't want pissy pants Kevin, just like in, I'm sure, baseball, right? So that's huge, man. We'll definitely be doing part 2 and 3 as many times as you'll let me come. Maybe next Monday.
Always welcome.
Well, I'm going to take you up on that. Appreciate you.
Likewise. Thank you.